Today's episode is called The Greatest Love of All. The greatest love is happening to me. I really want to talk about self-love because I think for women in their 40s upwards, there is a real need for self-love. And I think we give a lot of our love away. We don't do it this way. We don't show ourselves love. Self-love has a lot to do with enforcing boundaries. In other words, it's saying no when you damn well mean no. No is no. Let's try different ways that we can say no. Okay, I'll start. It's a hard no from me. Oh no, you're not getting me to do that. No, actually, thanks for the offer, but I don't want to go. Practice saying no, because I think saying no is a big part of self-love. Self-love, it's not just self-love like at home. It's how do you show self-love in the workplace? Because people are always testing your boundaries in the workplace. I've worked in some environments where I've been tested. Oh, I've been tested. I remember being in a job where I used to report into this manager. We were chalk and cheese, put it that way. She used to make these digs at my eating habits because obviously I like my grub. No shame in my grub game. She used to do this little humiliation ritual, which was to sort of call me out on my eating habits in front of all my colleagues. I remember one particular day we had a department meeting and she ordered sandwiches in and everybody was sitting around the table and there was this big plateau of sandwiches. Obviously I was staring at them for quite a while. Like, this was of more interest to me than the department meeting subject. She was like, grab your sandwiches fast, guys, because Magsy's going to eat them all. And I just thought to myself, how does she know? Funnily enough, that was a working environment where I had to leave because of the toxicity. I realised that there was no progression to be had in this environment and I'm going to leave. And I did. And that, my friends, was an act of self-love. And then there's relationships, right? Dating, that's where the boundaries are really hard in the ground. I mean, in my own experience, I've failed many times to enforce boundaries in relationships, but yeah, still learning. I dated a guy once and he said to me, you would be so beautiful if you lost weight. Ooh, wow, wow. That was actually the last time I saw him. What I really wanted to say to that guy was, well, I may be fat, but I can lose the fat should I wish to lose the fat. But you, my friend, have areas of your body that require growth. I didn't say it. I really wish I did. So self-love it's a practice. So how do you practice? How do you do it? Hi, Nati. Thank you so much for joining FatBitz. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I found your Instagram page and I thought it was so wholesome and the messaging was so beautiful. And I just thought, she's the girl. I'd love her to talk on FatBitz about self-love and what it is. So tell me, Nati, and tell the FatBitz ladies what self-love is.
Well, I feel like my definition of self-love changes through the years, but I think of it as a lens through which I see the world and a journey that we're all on. So I think a lot of people think of self-love as a destination and a place that you need to arrive to, but I like to think of it as a way of living life. It's not about how much you love yourself. It's more about how intentional you are about your relationship with yourself, how you care for
Mm.
yourself, how you show up for yourself, how you think of yourself. Um, it's more, I think, action based, and not just actions from a place of check, I did my journaling, check, I took a little bubble bath, but more of how we keep our promises to ourselves. I like to think of self love as this umbrella term, and within it, there's self care, there's self compassion, self awareness, self knowledge. For me, self love has been this journey and this understanding that my relationship with myself is the longest relationship that I'll ever have. So I better make this relationship um, a worthy one and a loving one.
Love it. It's true. If you have a healthy, loving relationship with yourself, the odds are you can have loving, healthy relationships outside of yourself. Do you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
If you're someone who is always seeking other relationships in order to fill something that you're lacking within yourself, no relationship is going to fill you. Whereas if you're loving yourself and if you have a relationship that's just overflowing with love, and not from this place of ego of, oh my God, I love myself so much, but more of this generosity of love that you feel for yourself, and then that transfers onto others. But I am more than happy to be with myself, by myself, to spend time with myself, because I am one of my favorite people in the world, right?
I love it. I love it. And do you know what? It's true. Like, there is a difference between loving yourself in front of the mirror, going, get a load of me, and actually deeply connecting with yourself and
Mm.
saying, do you know what? I love me. I love me for who I am.
Yeah. And I think there's a little piece about like alignment and authenticity and
Yes.
alignment. Like if you are in alignment with yourself, and I think this is where the whole like self-knowledge and self-awareness piece comes into work, and that's what I do with my clients, is I get them to get really clear on what their values are and to really understand what makes them different from someone else. And then once you know your values, and once you start making decisions based on these values, it's like, okay, if one of my values is beauty, beauty as in I appreciate beauty, I like to have beautiful things around me, then why am I living in a home that makes me feel that is dark and that just doesn't align with me? And I like to think of self-love as this understanding of yourself as well, and that way you're not trying someone else's formula of what a happy life is, but you are living from your own formula, you're creating your own formula, and the more you're aligned with that, the more peace, tranquility you'll feel in that you are living this life for yourself.
You talked about being able to be by yourself, right? There are many people who don't like solitude. If you're connected with yourself, then solitude isn't really a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, because solitude does not have to equal loneliness. Just
Right.
because you're by
Yes.
yourself doesn't mean that you're lonely, right? I think that's why it's important to cultivate hobbies and to experiment with different things that make being alone be something that's fun and fulfilling for you, because I think there's so many people that spend their whole lives avoiding that solitude. So I think it's like, how can we cultivate the habit of being by ourselves?
What would be your advice to helping us be more intentional with how we love ourselves? How do we practice self love in real terms?
I think one of the first steps for me is self knowledge and self awareness. And one way that that comes is through journaling. So, for example, doing a values exercise and getting to know what your values are, what you value in yourself and in relationships. Journaling is this tool that you can use on a daily basis, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to get to know yourself and to see what's under, what's hurting, what brings you joy, and to connect with yourself, and then maybe set some goals for yourself, and kind of have it as a bit of an accountability partner. And another thing that I think is essential is really
Mm.
learning to listen to this inner dialogue and the voices that you have in your head. We all have voices in our head that can be this nagging voice, the critic that I have in my head. Who is this? Who brought
Mm.
criticism into my mind? Was it maybe my mom? Was it maybe a teacher? Was it maybe my bully in elementary school? Maybe I carry that voice within me, and maybe that voice is louder than the rest. One of the things that I suggest is have this like inner dialogue log on your phone. And every time you have a negative thought about yourself, write it down on your notes app. And it can be very uncomfortable the first couple of days that you do it because you realize how often you have negative thoughts that don't serve you. And the more that you become aware of them, the more it's like, okay, like I can see a pattern here, and ideally you shift these negative thoughts into more positive ones. So for example, the critic
Mm.
in my mind is telling me, I suck at X, I can't do X, and then it's like, wait, no, yes I can, I've done this before. That's actually untrue. So being able to kind of see the critic and then be your own cheerleader, that's an exercise that I recommend to everyone because it's literally changing your mind and changing the way that your mind has been kind of formed and how we have been accustomed to thinking. I think the older you get, you're able to kind of differentiate between these voices, and the more you look into them, you're able to see like, wait, no, this one, what if I put names on them? The critic, the bully, or the cheerleader, or the best friend, and you try to kind of take the microphone away from the bully. Thank you, bully, for your contribution. I'm gonna give the mic to best friend now. Best friend, what's your opinion on this? And then giving your inner bestie a little bit more voice and a little bit more of a platform because she has shit to say too, but maybe she's just been waiting politely for the bully to give his speech, right?
I love that. Take the mic away from the bully and give it to your bestie. Brilliant. Brilliant. You've spoken about a couple of methods that we can use to get a bit more connected with ourselves. But what about external relationships? There's one thing dealing with the internal. How do you deal with external agents that might be a block to our own self-love?
We get to choose which relationships we nurture and which ones are actually toxic for us and that we need to walk away from. But I'd say if you're, I don't know, for example, I am someone who really has a healthy relationship with myself, and my husband maybe is getting there. So that doesn't mean that I just leave and only exist within people who love themselves completely. No, that's impossible. But I think it's
Mm.
more of a, how can you lead from example, and how can you focus on what you can control? What's in my control? My relationship with myself is 100% in my control. My relationship with my husband is 50% in my control. I can do my part and he has to do his, right? I can lead by example, but his relationship with himself, that's on him.
We're all individually working on, well, you'd like to think we're all
Yeah.
working on ourselves a little bit. And working on things like self-love is of, I think, utmost importance, especially to women. But how do you deal with that in a relationship? Because I'm working on me because I need to be in alignment and fulfill my potential and do the things I want to do in life. Sometimes you can be in a relationship with somebody who almost shrinks
Mm.
in the presence of your growth. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yes. And I think it's important that we give ourselves permission to change our minds. It's not like you make a contract and it's like, okay, I married someone at 27 and this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life, because then you're 37 and then you're 47 and you've evolved into different versions of yourselves, and maybe you were going down the same path and maybe he's going that way and I'm going that way, and it's okay to look at each other at one point in life and be like, maybe we're not headed in the same direction, and maybe that's okay. And I think that just is another conversation about how we've demonized divorce and separation, when really sometimes it's the healthiest thing for both parties, right? I think it's, if you're in a
Absolutely.
relationship with someone who shrinks or makes you want to shrink and makes you not want to be 100% yourself and in the process of self-love, like if someone is against you working on yourself and you therefore have to shrink yourself in order to be in that relationship, then I think that just you have to see how much of that you want to tolerate. And like, if 10 more years of this same relationship dynamic are going to play out, are those 10 years going to be fulfilling years for you?
Exactly. And I think practicing self love is about making choices. It's like I'm saying no to a toxic relationship. I'm saying no to a toxic work environment. I'm
Yeah.
saying no to the inner bully, that the bully with the mic. Oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by saying no, but I'm ultimately hurting my own by saying yes.
When you say yes and it's not a full body, can I swear on here?
Mm. Oh, this
um
is fat bits. It's fat cool she can.
okay, so for me, another one of my like sayings is, if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a fuck no. And if you're saying if you're saying yes to something, and but you're not 100% in it, then you're also doing a disservice to whoever you said yes to. Like, they don't need your half-assed yes. They need your 100% yes. If you're a people pleaser, I think it's important to give yourself that reframe and understand that you're saying no can actually be a favor to someone else, because then they can find someone who will give 100% of them when they say yes.
I love it. Well, Nati, it's a big yeah to you. You're doing amazing work, one person by one person at a time, helping people to really understand themselves a bit more and just sort of generate that love within them a bit more. And then that goes outwards and it all connects us a bit more. So it's just a beautiful kind of knock on effect. If I think, especially women, if we can really love on ourselves a little bit more, it can really make a change in the world. I don't want to sound like, cheesy and stuff. I believe that to be true. I really have loved speaking to you. Please tell the FatBitz audience like where they can find you, what you do. Um
I am a self-love coach, and that's like my soul work. That's what I love to do. I love connecting with women. I also coach men, but mostly women throughout the world, and I help them with their mindset, with their habits. I'm just a mirror to other people, and I help them see within themselves the seeds that need to be planted in order for them to bloom and to really live a life of alignment. So that's what I do. And you can find me on Instagram. It's at Nati Valderrama. And then my website is Nati Valderrama. I'm from Chile, but I am bilingual. So I do English and Spanish. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. It's honestly been super nice to be on here with you, to meet you. And I think what you were mentioning about like this ripple effect, for me, it's like my purpose on earth has been fulfilled today just by having this conversation with you. And every day, just having these little conversations with my clients, with people on Instagram, with someone on the street, like all of this creates a better world and a more loving world. So thank you again for the invitation. It's been lovely.
Oh, beautiful. It was meant to be. It was all aligned. Thank you, Nati. Take care. God bless. Big thanks to Nati and wonderful work that she does. She just helping people just to be better people, right? I'm going to tag Nati with this episode. So yeah, feel free to follow her on Instagram, check out her work. And I'm feeling very self-lovey-dovey right now. I think on that note, it's time for a tea break. Oh, go, cup of tea. I've decided to show myself self-love. I've decided to eat a carrot stick. Really loving myself right now. Oh, I've got to wash carrot down with tea. Tea is meant for biscuits and cake. Oh, it's just the wrong combo. Would you like, Harley? Would you like a carrot? Oh, he's gone for the carrot. Oh, it's a really tricky thing to do, is to love yourself openly and to really love the true version of who you are. And yeah, get writing. I'm not a journaler. I've never been able to journal, but I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try my very best to write down my values. Who is this version of me? I'm going to write it all down. We are conditioned to believe that the love of our life is outside of ourselves, right? I've got to 49 and I realize that actually the greatest love of my life is me. So, yeah, self love really is the greatest love of all. The great. No, I won't do it. Cheers.